Hello. In this video, I'm going to show you how to do 1- and 2-step unit conversion problems. The first one that we'll start with is the 1-step problems. Specifically, we're going to convert 5.32 meters to centimeters. Now, the first thing you will always do is to write down what you are given. So 5.32 meters. All right, there are two ways that you can write out these questions. You can either do what they call the railroad tracks, which looks like this, and then you'll use a vertical line to divide every conversion factor from the one next to it, or you can write it out as separate fractions. That is my preference, so that's what I'm going to do. So it will look like this. Now, if you want to convert from meters to centimeters, you have to know how many centimeters are in 1 meter. So I know that there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter. Now that I have that conversion factor, I can write it out in the fraction however I need to. So specifically what we want to do is we want to arrange it so that our unit will cancel out and we will be left with the unit that we are given. Now, if you think back to a previous math class, for example, if I have a problem like this, 5x over 5, any number divided by itself essentially cancels out because it equals 1, right? So then I'm left with this. That's what we're going to do with our math here, except the difference is that we're working with units instead of numbers. The concept is the same. Meters divided by itself is equal to 1. So that's how we want to arrange our conversion factor. So because our meters is on top here, this piece that contains meters needs to go on the bottom so that meters will cancel out. So 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeters. So when I go through and do my math, my meters are going to cancel each other out. And what I get is 5.32 times 100. And then centimeters is my unit, divided by 1, which gives me 532 centimeters. For the next question, we're working with kilograms and grams. So again, the first thing we always do is we write down what we are given. So 0.073 kilograms, and I'm asked to convert it to grams. If I know my prefixes, I know that the prefix kilo means 1,000. So I know that there are 1,000 grams in 1 kilogram. Now, again, my kilograms need to cancel out. I don't want kilograms in my final answer. So because it is on top here, it has to be on the bottom there. So 1 kilogram is 1,000 grams. That's not the number 1,000. 1,000 grams. That's better. All right, so when I go through, my kilograms will cancel each other out, and I'll be left with grams. And I get 0.073 times 1,000. And then my units that I'm left with are grams, divided by 1. And my final answer here will be 73 grams. All right, one final problem is convert 32.5 seconds into milliseconds. So again, the first thing I'm going to do is write down what I'm given, 32.5 seconds. If I know my prefixes, I know that milli equals 1/1000th. So there are 1,000 milliseconds in 1 second. And I'm going to write that so that seconds goes on the bottom so that it cancels. So my seconds will cancel out. I'm left with milliseconds. So 32.5 times 1,000 milliseconds divided by 1. So 32,500 milliseconds is my answer. So that's pretty straightforward. The next two problems that we're going to do are multi-step problems. Right. So there are two kinds of multi-step problems. The first one, I typed that wrong. Hold on. The first one, I'm just going to fix it here. The first problem is we're going to go from kilograms to milligrams. All right, so the way that we're going to do this, if you'll notice, I have the same unit that I'm working with. I am working with units of mass, just different types. So I can use that base unit, grams, as sort of my middle point to get from one to the other, because I don't know how many milligrams are in a kilogram, but I know how many grams are in a kilogram, and I know how many milligrams are in a gram. So step number 1, as always, we're going to write what we are given. So the goal here, we're going to go from kilograms to grams to milligrams. All right, so this first piece, if I know my prefixes, I know that kilo means that there are 1,000 grams in 1 kilogram. Kilograms are on top, so they've got to go on bottom here. So 1 kilogram is 1,000 grams. Great. Now I am here. So this next step, I have to go from grams to milligrams. If I know my prefixes, I know that milli means that there are 1,000 milligrams in 1 gram. So, same concept, but now a lot of people get tripped up here. It's exactly the same. Don't let it trip you up. We just added on to the same problem. Instead of doing the individual pieces of math, I just added on. So, same concept, grams is on top here. That means it has to be on bottom to cancel out. So 1 gram is 1,000 milligrams. So when I do my math, my kilograms will cancel and my grams will cancel, and I'll be left with milligrams. Whenever I am plugging something like this into a calculator, this one is really easy because I have the number 1 times the number 1 on the bottom. But to type this in the calculator, what you should do is put everything that's on that top row in one set of parentheses multiplied together. So 8.5 times 1,000 times 1,000. Then divided by, to represent our horizontal line here, and then put a new set of parentheses and multiply everything on the bottom together. Again, in this situation, it's just 1 times 1. But there are other problems, potentially the next one, that you're going to have actual numbers on the bottom. So you'll want to put them in parentheses and treat it like this. If you do it in this format, with everything on the top multiplied together, divided by everything on the bottom multiplied together, and use parentheses, you're always going to get the right answer. So again, we're left with the unit milligrams, which leaves us with 8,500,000. Oh, that's weird. 500,000 milligrams. All right, and then the final question. This time, I have a derived unit, which hopefully we know is a unit that we get from mathing and combining 2 units. So in this situation, we've got a car traveling at a speed of 72 kilometers per hour. I can write it just like it's been written here in the question, or I can write it like this. And this is the way you should write it for math purposes. So 72 kilometers, but instead of doing /hour, you're going to do over hours. It's the same exact thing, but now it's written in a format that makes this stuff up here, doing the math that way, much easier. All right, so you will notice in the question that we are going from kilometers to meters and from hours to seconds. So we're going to have to do multiple maths because we're changing both of those units. All right, so I'm going to start with going from kilometers to meters. All right, so let's see. I know that there are 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. So I'm going to write it so that my kilometers cancel. And I'm left with meters. Now, instead of going ahead and doing that math and then getting a number that we then do more math with, let's just do the other piece all in the same question, because we now have meters, which is what we wanted, right? So then let's talk about hours. Let's say that you don't know how many hours or how many seconds are in an hour. Well, we know how many minutes are in an hour. All right. Here, this is a different type of multi-step question because now we're going to flip-flop. So instead of hours needing to be on bottom to cancel, hours are already on bottom. So I'm going to put them on top. So I know that 1 hour is 60 minutes. I don't want minutes, I want seconds. So I'm going to have to do one more piece of math. And I have minutes on the bottom already, so minutes need to go on the top. I know that there are 60 seconds in 1 minute. So 1 minute so that it cancels. 60 seconds. Seconds, that's not even how you abbreviate seconds, so let me fix that. There we go. So now I have seconds, which is the other unit that I wanted. Now I just plug it all in. I'm going to follow that same method I was doing before. Everything on top multiplied together in one set of parentheses. That is the same color. Everything on the bottom, pink. Everything on the bottom multiplied together in another set of parentheses. So what we get is 72 times 1,000 times 1 divided by, when it just has the unit, we assume a 1 there. So 1 times 60 times 60. This is what I was talking about where we're going to have an actual number there that we need to consider. Okay, so I have my numbers. Let's figure out what unit goes with it. My kilometers will cancel, and I'm left with meters. My hours cancel, my minutes cancel, and I'm left with seconds. So we got meters divided by seconds. So meters per second. And if I plug this number in, I get 20 meters per second. You could also write it 20 meters per second, which is the same thing. Okay, that, my friends, is how we do unit conversions in 1 or 2 steps.